Hello movie lovers, story recaps here. Today, I'm going to explain an American dystopian film called The Darkest Minds. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Children and teenagers begin dying in the United States in 2043 as a result of a horrific disease that only affects children. This illness spreads swiftly and is contagious. However, only children are fatally affected by this illness, adults are not. Only 2% of children survive this virus's effects, and those who do develop abnormalities. As a result, 98% of children and teenagers die. These kids have a specific talent as a result of the illness, making them hazardous. All parents are urged by the authorities to send their survivor child to a camp for treatment and study. In that point, President Gray of America asserts that his son Clancy has survived the illness, is receiving curative treatment at the camp, and that his condition is improving. Doctors and researchers at the camp divide children and illnesses into 5 categories based on 5 colors. The greens are the first, they represent children whose intelligence has risen. For people who possess telekinetic skills, the second option is blue. The third category is called gold, and they have the ability to control electricity. The first 3 groups are exclusively receiving treatment at healing camps and are thought to be quite safe. The fourth group is the most deadly group, represented by the color red, for those who have control over fire, and the fifth group, represented by the color orange, is the most dangerous group for those who have control over other people's thoughts. The red and orange groupings are extremely uncommon, and the government believes them to be particularly dangerous, ordering their swift and on-site execution. The movie places us in a scene where a young child named Ruby is having her birthday party with her parents. They are concerned since only Ruby is still alive and all the nearby kids have passed away. Ruby visits her mother's room at night to help her relax, but while she clutches her mother's hand, a bizarre image appears. Ruby's mother no longer recognizes her as her kid in the morning, so she requests that the authorities take Ruby to the healing camp. Ruby is finally transported to the rehabilitation camp along with the other kids. Every youngster brought to the camp undergoes a medical examination to identify any abnormalities they may have. When Ruby is examined, it is discovered that she belongs to the most dangerous group that has the ability to manipulate other people's thoughts, known as Orange. As a result, the doctor is eager to give Ruby a deadly injection. Ruby is able to exert mental control over him and persuade him that she is one of the green species, whose intelligence has advanced quickly and who are not seen as threatening. There are 3 groups on the camp: green, blue, and gold. There are neither red nor orange because they are all shot dead on sight. Ruby then continues to live as a green in the camp. Ruby, who is employed at the camp and has been there for 6 years, receives criticism from the camp captain for making a mistake. The captain becomes suspicious because she thinks Ruby is more dim-witted than the others. The camp captain becomes enraged when Ruby's campmate attempts to defend Ruby and criticizes him, so the captain sends her away as punishment. In the camp, the kids are treated horribly. Frequency tests are frequently conducted later at the camp. To put it simply, this frequency test involves using a very loud sound that only kids can hear. Ruby passes out during this frequency test, so she is brought to a doctor named Dr. Kate for additional testing. The inspection reveals to the officer that Ruby is an orange. Ruby receives a note from Dr. Kate saying they have discovered she is an orange and will murder her right away. Ruby is instructed to meet Dr. Kate in the boiler room. Ruby rushes to the boiler room in a panic, where she finds Dr. Kate waiting for her. At that point, an incursion alarm has been activated, and all cops are instructed to search for Ruby. Ruby is able to escape using Dr. Kate's car with the assistance of the medical professional. Ruby is nearly apprehended at the checkpoint, but she manages to get away by using her ability to influence the officer's thoughts. Ruby finally succeeds in leaving the camp after 6 years. Kate gives Ruby a panic button to use as a tracker in the car if she ever finds herself in danger. In order to save children from the camp and oppose the government, Kate explains that she is a member of the Children's League. To meet Kate's boyfriend, Rob, who is also working to rescue children, they go to a gas station. However, Ruby has a vision of Rob, who appears to like hurting children, when she nearly falls and grabs Rob's hand. Ruby starts to question their intentions. When Ruby gets dressed at a store, she unexpectedly notices a young child who has the ability to control electricity. When the girl sees Ruby, she flees, and Ruby follows her. Ruby follows the girl into a van as she gets into the van to flee from Dr. Kate. The youngster, Zoo, is mute and always wears gloves because of her talent. Liam and Charles, 2 of Zoo's buddies, are with him. Liam is a blue with telekinesis, whereas Charles is a green with intelligence. They consent to accompany Ruby and aid her in getting away from Kate. Lady Jane, a woman who attempts to pursue them along the road, is present. Lady Jane is a pro-business child hunter. Kate also tries to follow them while she is after them. Liam, however, utilizes his telekinetic ability to annoy them by spreading the leaves, causing the road to break, and even uprooting trees. They are able to get away as a result. They start to get to know one another better as well, but Ruby hides the fact that she is an orange and pretends to be a green. Liam adds that they are traveling along the East River to a group of kids being guided by an enigmatic figure known as the Slip Kid. The identity of the Slip youngster is unknown, but he appears to be an orange with mind-controlling abilities. He further clarifies that staying at the Children's League under the direction of Dr. Kate is not recommended. He formerly worked for the Children's League, which prepares kids to utilize their skills to overthrow the government. Liam eventually quit the League because he didn't enjoy the concept of being a soldier. Ruby and the others spend the night in an inn in the interim. Ruby recalls her childhood memories of her parents. She couldn't fully manage it, and as a result, she unintentionally wiped her parents' memories of her when she was a child. While dozing off, Ruby unintentionally brushes Zoo's hand and recalls that Zoo was once in a government camp where she once lived with hundreds of other children until they rebelled and fled under Liam's leadership. Zoo became silent as a result of the stress she experienced while living at the camp. They visit a long-defunct mall in the morning to shop and get supplies. They cherish their time together because they were never given a typical childhood. But all of a sudden, a group of people lifts and controls their bodies. Fortunately, Zoo stops at using her electric abilities. They also happen to be a gang of kids with telekinesis skills, it turns out. They discuss the Children's Association in the East River and its extreme secrecy at night. They are aware of East River's position, but they are unable to divulge its precise location to Ruby and her pals, because it is a secret. Ruby, however, subtly employs her telepathy to cause one of them to reveal the letter EDO as a clue to the location. Later that evening, the brilliant Charles attempts to determine what EDO is but comes up empty. However, Charles begins to suspect that EDO might be a radio frequency after asking Ruby about her father's work as a police officer. He comes to the conclusion that E stands for 5, D for 4, and O for 0. Additionally, he tunes his radio to the frequency 5-4-0. When they finally get a transmission from the frequency, they discover that Lake Prince, Virginia is the place. The kid hunter Lady Jane ambushes them the following day where they are traveling and renders them unconscious with the sound frequency of her gun. Fortunately, Ruby uses her ability to influence Lady Jane's thoughts in order to provide a just punishment. The realization that Ruby had been orange all along astounded Liam and the others. It turns out that Ruby has been lying to them all along because she doesn't take pride in her skills. Ruby confides in Liam about her past at a later time, and they begin to develop feelings for one another. They eventually go on and reach Lake Prince, Virginia. They encounter similar-aged kids there. They haven't seen that many kids in a very long time, which is why they are so astonished. Additionally, they run into the Slip Kid, who it turns out is Clancy Gray, son of the president. Clancy, like Ruby, is an orange. They celebrate at night. Liam and Ruby dance passionately together. Each of them receives a task in the morning, and Ruby is tasked with supporting Clancy. Clancy informs Ruby that he is among the first survivors of the dreadful illness, and that the government exploited him as a test subject to develop a treatment. But the doctor fell short. And the president, his father, deceived the people by saying they had discovered the treatment. After eventually making his way out, Clancy started a children's society where all the kids could live in safety. Ruby eventually succeeds when Clancy teaches her how to harness her ability and exert mental control over others without coming in contact with their hands. In exchange, Ruby demonstrates to him how to remove someone's memory. Clancy manages her mind during this procedure and tries to kiss her. Ruby strikes him and then walks away because she is upset. Finally, Ruby and her friends decide to leave the location. However, troops from the camp ambush them as they are fleeing. Liam tries to fight back, but all of a sudden he passes out. Clancy seemed to have rendered him unconscious. It is made clear that Clancy was the driving force behind everything the entire time. To have all the kids taken into custody, Clancy has spoken to the camp captain. Clancy has been using his influence to seize control of the government and influence his father, the president. His major objective is to arm his army of superpowered kids so that he would never be mistreated by anyone. The camp captain then commits suicide as a result of Ruby using her influence, and Zoo manipulates the electricity to devise a ruse for escape. Armed forces with helicopters appear out of nowhere to round up all the kids. The children in the red group, who have the ability to control fire, were brought in by the army. It turns out that the government has secretly turned them into weapons, and they set fire to the camp. Finally, the conflict starts. Liam utilizes his might to fight back against the Red Army's attempt to set him and his friends on fire. Clancy unexpectedly intervenes in the conflict and influences the thoughts of every kid present. Because only Ruby possesses the strength to take on Clancy, Liam and the others are compelled to depart from the area and leave Ruby behind. Ruby builds an army with the help of her talent. Clancy, however, reveals his nasty side and manipulates their thoughts to kill each other by shooting. Clancy then tries to get Ruby to join his side and forget about her pals using his new memory-erasing abilities. However, the chopper crashes and explodes as Ruby uses her power to take over the pilot's consciousness. With Charles's assistance, Ruby is able to escape the explosion, but because Charles is badly burned and hurt, Ruby is forced to use her panic button to call the Children's League for assistance. The League team arrives the following morning to pick them all up. Zoo gets adopted by a good family while Charles is rushed right away to the hospital for treatment. However, the League has detained Liam since he has a history of betraying the League. Liam is seen to know too much about the League by the League to be allowed to remain free. Ruby meets Kate and offers to join the League and fight against the government alongside them in exchange for Liam's freedom. Kate, on the other hand, is certain that Liam will never leave without Ruby and that he will forbid Ruby from joining the League. Ruby finally meets Liam. Liam emphasizes that he wants the two of them to remain together and talk about their future plans. However, in order for Liam to be freed and for Ruby to join and fight alongside the Children's League, she is compelled to remove herself from Liam's memory. He no longer has any recollections of Ruby from their first encounter in the van, where they conversed and danced together. Liam abruptly forgets everything about Ruby, and Liam walks away. When Ruby sees Liam leaving, she starts to cry. Ruby joins and trains with the Children's League at the conclusion of the narrative. However, there's more. Because it appears that Clancy is still alive, Ruby and her friends' struggle is far from ended, and a bloody conflict between the two sides is unavoidable. Don't forget to subscribe for more recaps like this, switch on alerts, and give the channel a thumbs up to help it grow. Thank you for taking the time to watch. Let's meet up the next day for another evaluation.